what is the ideal diet? What is ideal for you might not be ideal for me, and so what is my medicine might be another person's poison. And what I've discovered along my journey is that it is best to listen, to observe your body. So what is working for me might actually be harmful for another person. For example, veganism or being on the paleo diet or keto diet. These are all different diets that work amazingly well for certain people. For other people, they actually are very harmful. And so my way of following my inner guidance, my inner intuition with my diet has been the best way of really eating for myself. So maybe at times I find that I'm more into eating more plant-based proteins or plant-based foods. Other times I do focus on eating meat. Around when I was 23 years old, I tried getting onto the vegan diet. I am someone who is so dedicated to my spiritual path, and I felt like maybe that was affecting me negatively on my spiritual path, and it was taking me away from my inner growth. As well as I was going through anxiety and depression and thought maybe meat was also the cause for that. But after 7 years of trying to be vegan, I actually ended up being very sick. I had a low amount of protein. I didn't know how to do the right way of veganism, and so I tried doing the right way of veganism, getting onto the B12 supplements, taking in higher doses of protein, getting onto a healthy protein powder. But what I discovered is that my body still was craving meat. And so I didn't want to deny what was present there. I did get back to eating meat, which was very hard because it felt wrong because of the ideas and the beliefs that I internalized, especially with the people that I was around who were vegans or actually fruitarians at times. That was a very, very big mistake on my part, where I was just following what was outside of me and saying maybe that's a better way of doing things. But ultimately, the best way to eat is what your body is asking you. Everyone's body is different, and so what feels good, for example, chickpeas might feel good for you. For me, actually it causes me to bloat. It actually makes me feel tired. Here are my 3 tips around how to become more of an intuitive eater and to better suit what works well for you. My biggest advice around that is to begin by having a food diary. So with this food diary, you observe yourself when you eat certain foods. For example, a salad, or if you eat a hamburger, how do you feel afterwards? Do you feel uplifted? Do you feel depleted? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel happy? And just taking note of the details around that. For a food diary, you can write it in a journal, or you could choose to mentally take note, which I actually did for both. I did the mental and the writing down. And my second point is that when you do notice a certain food causing some sort of depletion of your energy, or take out a certain type of food. For example, it might be gluten, dairy, or sugar. These 3, they tend to be the cause of bloating, inflammation within the body, as well as tiredness and a bunch of other symptoms. And so you can start off with removing dairy and see how you feel afterwards, after maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, and then reintroducing it back into your diet without any sort of guilt, without any sort of shaming to yourself, simply allowing yourself to experiment and see what feels good and what doesn't. Gluten, dairy, and sugar for me have been such big culprits of causing me to feel out of balance physically and mentally, where I feel anxious at times, where I feel more anxious when I eat sugar or I eat gluten, and I tend to not be able to lose weight, where I feel more bloated and really lethargic when I eat dairy and gluten often. So for me, it's not about fully removing something from my diet, it's about listening. So most of the time I don't eat dairy. I'm gonna say maybe once every 6 months I eat dairy, but I'm not rigid I'm not strict like I was before when I was in my 20s. Now I actually create space for whatever to come up. For me, for example, if I'm craving to eat a cake, but I'm also disciplined to not overdo it. So that's why I don't agree with intuitive eating from the mainstream meaning of intuitive eating. I thought I was doing intuitive eating, but it turns out that I was doing my own version of intuitive eating, which is listening to what feels good, but at the same time having discipline and choosing the foods that actually uplift me instead of deplete me. While eating intuitively is actually not focusing on nutrients, is focusing on removing food police and not feeling guilty or judging a food as being bad or good because of the amount of calories or if it's fried or not. I'm focused more on nutrition, while in mainstream meaning of intuitive eating is focused on mostly just breaking away from any sort of diet culture and focusing on just simply eating and following the hunger and the satiation cues of the body, and being mindful and being present with the food, which I find to be so important. Mindful eating, creating a space for yourself to eat where you feel comfortable is so important to also feel content and satisfied. Highly recommend just simply listening to your body, removing the foods that don't feel good when you eat them, and experimenting. There are times where your body just says, give me a lot of raw vegetables and fruits. Other times it wants cooked foods. Depending on the season of your life, what journey you're going through currently in your life. It might be a difficult time and you need more grounding foods, or you need something that is so nourishing like a stew or a curry. And then other times you feel like you want to connect more spiritually to yourself, and so you increase your fruits and vegetable intake and not as much cooked foods. So it really is so important to tune in to your body, to your intuition. And if you feel like you're so disconnected from yourself, I would say begin with the food diary. Begin with meditation as well. Meditation is a way to reconnect you back to your body, reconnect you back to your truth, and to allow you to listen more intently and to be more present with what feels good and to let go of what doesn't feel good. It's like a muscle. The more you train yourself to listen, the more you'll be able to listen more easily and it won't be as difficult. I hope this video benefited you. I look forward to seeing you very soon.